I just want to thank you for joining us on the State of Scottish Football. I'm joined today by Jenna and Michael. Thank you for joining me, guys.
No bother. Hello.
Always a pleasure to be here.
So, first of all, Jenna, I'll come to you because you were at Fir Park to see the mighty Motherwell take on Dundee United last night.
Yeah, it was a really good game. Motherwell came out the dugout fighting from the start. I mean, I think Dundee's result of the weekend was a massive wake-up call for the team in Graham Alexander, and they had to put the calls for... Some people were calling for Alexander's head after the game. A lot of people were scared in case we're going to the same slump that we were in this time last year under Stephen Robinson. And the players, fair play, they played their absolute hearts out. Barry Maguire got a start as well. That's been kind of a rare thing for him as well. His red card, it was a red, I think. I mean, he got booked quite early on as well. And I wouldn't have said it was red if he hadn't already been booked. But it was definitely warranted. I was kind of aware when that happened, because when that happened, Dundee United kind of came into the game more a bit. Because I think they were seen as, well, if they're down to 10 men, that's one less person to worry about. But luckily, they played it really well. I mean, I genuinely thought it was going to get rained off during that second half. I mean, the rain was bouncing. They couldn't kick the ball with it. A big massive like that of water going everywhere. And I was there just as a member of the public. I wasn't doing press work, so I was sitting in the main stand, and at the very side of it, that's where the disabled supporters like shelter is. And the full game, just a big constant stream of water was going off the top the full time. And I felt so bad for anyone who was sitting in that, because like, they are going to get absolutely drowned. The water falling off was honestly like, did you guys ever watch I'm a Celebrity when it was still like in the jungle? See the waterfalls used to have in that? No exaggeration. That is what it was like.
Yeah, and obviously Motherwell, they got back to picking up the 3 points, and it was a superb goal from Tony Watt. Jenna?
Yeah, I can't lie. I've watched that at least 7 times today. It was amazing. I mean, Tony Watt being top goal scorer now, I think he's thoroughly earned it. The boy, hats off to him. He's one of the best players in that squad. And I think the sooner Graham Alexander can offer him another deal, he has to kind of sign it for Motherwell's sake. But if he decides to go after a season, I won't hold it against him. I'll be heartbroken, don't get me wrong, but he's more than gave us his absolute all. So if he was to move on, I wouldn't blame him. I really wouldn't.
I was just going to say, who else impressed you last night?
Kevin Van Veen as well. I mean, I don't know if it was strictly just the condition of the actual park and the grass itself, but he could have potentially have had a hat-trick last night, and we could have ended up winning 4-0. Dundee United, they didn't really have much chance. I think they had about 2 or 3 that Kelly actually had to interfere with to stop going in. But yeah, I mean, Kevin Van Veen as well, he's came through the ranks. I'm pretty sure we've got him in either a 2 or 3 year deal. So if Tony Watt does depart, we know we're still in safe hands with a more than capable striker.
And Michael, what did you make of the game last night? Because I know you managed to watch the game on Sky as well.
Yeah, I mean, in the first half, I was watching football, but in the second half, I thought I was watching people swimming again in the swimming pool. It was that bad. But no, I mean, seriously, it was a good game of football. Disappointed for Dundee United. They were very poor last night, but just to keep Jim happy, like Motherwell played well and all that. Totally different team from Saturday, because I watched the game against Dundee and they were so disappointing on Saturday. But I must say, like, if Tony Watt keeps it up, you might find a phone call from Stevie Clark coming to Fir Park if he keeps that goal scoring for him up as well. And Kevin Van Veen, as you said, he could have scored a hat trick last night, but obviously for the conditions as well. But yeah, it was a good 3 point for the Whale last night.
Definitely. I mean, on the topic of Tony Watt, I think the only thing keeping him out of the squad is his age. In fact, he did international duty a good couple of years back. I think that could be the hesitancy for him getting the call up. But the way I say is, if you're still playing professional top flight football, you're playing it really well, pardon the pun in this case, but I don't see why age should come in it, either on the younger side of things with like Nathan Patterson, David Turnbull. But also in his time, I mean, he's still under 30. It's not as if he is like 35, like he'd be like, oh, okay, maybe that's a bit of a wild card, or maybe better not. But I don't see why he shouldn't. I mean, he's Scottish for the main thing. He's done it before. He's played like across 1 different European countries, so he's kind of got a flair and a bit of the taste of what European football is in terms of how different countries play, what their players can be like as well. I think he'd be really good, and because he has that experience under his belt already, I think that could help strengthen it as well. I mean, obviously it's like Callum McGregor, Nathan Patterson, Rangers and Celtic are frequently playing in Europe, same with like Liverpool and Champions League and whatnot. So the players have that kind of experience as well. Fair enough, against better teams you could argue than what Tony Watt's played against, but the principle's still there.
And Regan, you know how I feel about Sky Sports, but I mean, you must say it was brilliant to watch a football game without Celtic or Rangers last night, you know, and obviously I was watching the game in house, nice and warm, while Jim was outside freezing, raining, but it sounded like a good atmosphere as well, and Dundee United brought a good support down for a kind of quarter-eight kickoff as well. So, yeah, it was just good to see Scottish football on the TV, not a game not involving like the big two as well.
I was surprised it actually got onto Sky because the game was meant to be played tonight. Then it came through, it's been moved to Tuesday. I was like, it's like Dundee maybe had like a COVID case or like something I've just kind of missed or whatnot. And then I seen it was for Sky. I was like, that's some result for Motherwell, obviously Dundee United as well.
Yeah, Gemma, I just want to ask you, what would be the expectation from Motherwell this season then?
I mean, you kind of got this expectation at the start of like every season, and that is always to avoid the relegation. And last year, I did get worried this time last year. I was like, we could potentially have been in the playoffs. So fair play, Alexander. He brought us up, and I can't remember the exact place. I think it might have been 6th, maybe 5th, an absolute push. But if that split at the end of the season didn't happen, we would have finished with 6th or 5th. I can't remember what one exactly, based on like points and goal difference and whatnot, which I think is brilliant compared to where we were at this time last year as well, if you're talking about December time last season. So we've been playing quite well. Our win ratio is still a bit shaky, but that's just kind of Motherwell's thing. Motherwell's kind of always been a unpredictable team with that. So, I mean, you'll be aiming for top 6. If we're lucky enough to get into top 3, then obviously even better. But I think it's too early for myself to come out and say European football that. But if we're able to do it, I'll be more than happy.
I think what I would say there is, top 6 because Motherwell's a good club, but they need to stop throwing away stupid points like they did at the weekend against Dundee away.
That's the unpredictable side of Motherwell. It's as if the team or like the development plans going into a game, they kind of underestimate the lower sides. We've seen it with Hamlin last year. I'm pretty sure out of Hamlin's points, 12 of them were from playing Motherwell. And obviously we know where Hamlin ended up and how they're doing now. I won't say much about that one. But like there's always been a thing with Motherwell. They're really unpredictable. No game is an easy game. And the ones that you think might be, we assume it will be. And I think that's the difference. You can say, okay, this might be a good, easy one for us versus, no, this is a guaranteed one. And I think that's where the judgment is missed slightly. Because we went in at Dundee at the bottom of the table. On paper, easy Motherwell one. But then look what happened. They absolutely pounded us 3-0 because the boys just like, doesn't matter, we'll just run up it, it'll be fine. Then obviously it wasn't, because that's 3 more goals we've conceded and 3 points that we walked away without. And I think the sooner again, I don't know if it's the players or the coaching staff or what that has this idea, but as soon as they get that in their heads, the absolute better, because that's when we will go and produce better results. I mean, we were able to beat Hearts, Aberdeen, all very good sides. I know Aberdeen's kind of a bit shaky themselves now. I mean, Hearts have been great, and that's part of the Motherwell roller coaster people joke about. I mean, you can get absolutely hounded like 6-1 off Rangers one week and then beat Aberdeen away the next. I mean, it's not easy being a Well fan, I'll tell you that, but we're getting there. I think that's what's most important.
So a player that's impressed me is Callum Slattery. Do you enjoy watching him?
Yeah, I mean, he's been really good. I've missed the past couple of games just from working when games were on, unfortunately. But from what I've seen of him, he actually is really good. And I think he could have a potential good future at Motherwell. I think he was one of the people who got in like a 2 or 3 year deal. I can't remember. I'll probably need to check. But yeah, I mean, we've spent actually quite a good bit of money during the transfer window this year, which is kind of unlike Motherwell. Usually we just kind of round up the freebies where we can. But I think that could be the Turnbull money. I could be wrong, so no one quote me on that one. But we've actually been able to get players in. I mean, we signed, I can't remember if he's Northern Irish or Republic of Irish, but an under-21s internationalist for an undisclosed fee for another 3 year deal. So we're getting more and more players in. We're willing to spend the money now to get that talent in. And I think it's starting to show itself. I mean, you're saying about Callum, but as well as like Liam Kelly, we had to spend a good bit of money to get him from Queen's Park Rangers. And it's paying off if you've seen him. He's getting Scotland call-ups now and everything. Fair enough, he's not in the starting 11, but he's still there. And I think that says a lot. I mean, when you're up against like Craig Gordon, like Xander Clark, I don't think, hopefully, other Motherwell fans will agree with me with this one if anyone's watching, but I'm not mad that he's not getting a starting 11 because there is fierce competition with that. But the fact he's there kind of shows he's got the ability as well. And that's kind of what I've been saying, is that the ability is improving so much between what we had last season compared to now.
Yeah, because obviously you've got Stephen O'Donnell now as well, who is now the all-time Scotland international for a Motherwell player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's great for Steve. I know he gets a lot of stick, and don't get me wrong, I've heard my criticisms about him many a times as well. And I feel bad for the guy because when he has been called up for Scotland, he does get most of the brunt of the criticism, rightly or wrongly. I'll let everyone come up with their own opinions about that. It's not my place to say who's right and who's wrong. But I do feel bad for him because I think it took a toll on him. I think you could kind of see that with the way he was playing. He kind of lacked that confidence that he used to have. And I think it's even starting to affect his games with Motherwell. Because I don't know if you guys have noticed this at all, but he's actually been dropped a couple of times from the starting 11. And he's meant to be club captain. So Kelly's had to don the band. But I think it kind of says a lot. I mean, I always laugh and joke and say this, that he was able to hold us on amazingly at Wembley, playing against like Harry Kane, Jack Grealish, like a couple of £100 million players there. But his bottle crashes against like Ross County strikers, like it sounds bizarre. Now I don't know again if it's down to like the way Alexander's coaching style is or whatnot compared to Steve Clark's. If it was, that's kind of whatever. Every coach is different. You might find someone's model works better for your playing style versus another. But I think with Stephen O'Donnell, he's like a bit of a double-edged sword now because he can produce great results for the national team, but when he comes back and plays for us, it's kind of weakened a bit. And it's just trying to find out the reasons why. Is it a psychological thing with him? Is he worried that he's going to get hounded and maybe he said, well, if I'm not as confident and I'm not playing as well, maybe I won't get called up? Is it, again, psychological, but in the sense of like, no, everyone's like getting on to me. I'm not as good as like everyone like thought I was. Like, I'm not as good as I thought I was. And that's what's affected him. Or is it just the coaching differences? And I think once Motherwell or Scotland or whoever irons them issues out, then he'll go back to the player he was last season because he was one of our best. And I thought tooth and nail to defend him during the Euros because of that.
And then moving on to Dundee United, they were very disappointed last time, Michael.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I saw them at Celtic Park a few weeks ago, and I think I said this to you last week on the pod about, Dundee United's the only team that I saw coming to Celtic Park and having a go and coming out, because usually you think you have like 10 men or 11 men if you count the goalkeeper like behind the ball. So yeah, and then obviously they beat Rangers early on in the season, albeit it was at Dundee, but it was still a good win. Rangers are the champions as well. But yeah, I mean, Dundee United were very disappointed. I think the only thing that they were dying to do is go home and get a shower because it was awful wet last night. But yeah, I was so disappointed with Dundee United. But I think they'll still be a team to watch when he makes the top six at the turn of the year.
Yeah, personally, I'm going to blame Dave, who is on the State of Scottish Football, for telling Tam Courts that the game was on Sky Sports. I don't know if that played a part with him
Yep.
last night.
Yeah,
Because
no, I did see that as well. That Dave said could come to, because he didn't realise that the game was on Sky. So I thought that was pretty funny.
And
I'm
Jenna,
surprised someone told them. But yeah,
and,
carry on. Sorry.
and Jenna, what did you make of the game last night? From a
I thought it was really good.
from a Dundee United point of view.
Oh, definitely not good then. No, I mean they tried their best. I mean the conditions weren't great because the waterlogged pitch, especially in the second half. I did notice they started to come in a wee bit more around about the 70th minute mark, because I can remember watching the game going, they are getting a little bit too close to that box for my liking. But luckily, obviously, nothing came of it. We know now. But yeah, I mean, they eventually tried to get back in. I mean, as I was saying earlier, Barry Maguire getting sent off helped kind of revitalise him a bit as well, because again, that's one less midfield that I worry about, and he is a really talented young player. But ultimately, I mean, as you were saying, I think they were just kind of like, you know what, the conditions are awful, we're freezing, we're sloped, we've threw away a goal against a side that you could argue isn't the best now, as in terms of Motherwell. Let's just get this game over and done with, or hope it gets rained off. Because as I was saying, I'm really surprised it didn't, because it was shocking. I mean, I was taking videos of the rain because it was sheets of it. It was just blowing diagonal like that way and that way at the same time. It was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. So, I mean, hats off to any of the players playing off it in that, never mind D or like Motherwell. Like, fair play for anyone playing in that.
I think one man who would love to play last night would be Ryan Porteous, Reagan, because obviously he could maybe get away with some of the tackles because the park was kind of like heavy, so he might be kicking himself. And to tonight's game, obviously we're going to speak about tonight's game later on, but yeah, but no, I mean I agree with Jim. A good win for Murrow, but disappointed for the old Dundee United fans.
And in terms of Dundee United, they've now got a big game on Sunday at home to Celtic.
Yeah, I mean, Rangers find it very difficult there at the early part of the season. And since then, Dundee United's form has been like a yo-yo, kind of like up and down. You know, but yeah, I mean, Celtic's you know, no matter where Celtic goes, they always find it a bit difficult. And because it's Dundee, I'm expecting Dundee United to come out and have a go and don't sit in. But, well, as I said, they never sat in early on at Celtic Park. And I actually quite enjoyed the game because every time you go to Celtic Park or Ibrox Park, the teams always park about 5 buses. And that kind of, you know, it kind of spoils the game a wee bit as well. So yeah, Celtic will be up for the game, and Dundee United would want to bounce back from last night's defeat.
Yep, and moving on to the big matches that are taking place, we're going to move on to the game involving Jack Ross's side, and they take on Rangers, Michael.
Yeah, well, I was actually thinking about this before we came on air, and like I know that you were going to be speaking about all the games tonight, and I was thinking, well, even if Rangers and Hibs didn't meet in the Scottish League Cup the other week in the semi-final, it's still going to be a big game regardless if they met a couple of weeks ago or not. But in terms of the game tonight, it's going to be pretty interesting because Rangers would want revenge after that embarrassing performance because nobody was expecting that because Hibs were, you know, up until that game. Don't forget, Hibs weren't playing for about 3 or 4 weeks because of the COVID situation as well. So nobody was expecting that. People was expecting a difficult game, but a lot of people thought, well, Rangers would run out 2-1 winners or 2-0 winners or whatever, a tight affair. nobody was expecting that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the game, and again, it's on Sky, and it's quite good to see another Scottish football game on Sky. But yeah, I mean, I think both teams will go at it again, and Van Bronckhorst would want to get revenge over and Jack Ross, even though Van Bronckhorst was on the stand that day. He wasn't officially manager, but he was watching that performance and all that. So yeah, I think Rangers would be up for the game, and so yeah, it's going to be a cracking game, and I think it would be a cracking atmosphere as well, because Rangers will take a full Skangda behind the goal at Easter Road. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this game.
And Jonah, in terms of this game, it's the first real big test for Giovanni Esri to be the manager of Rangers, because it's a big game in Scottish football.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's his first league game as well, I believe. So I think that will make the difference. I mean, as we were saying, I mean, for the Scottish League Cup game, he was in the stands, and I don't know if he was involved. I think like the coaching, like training prep. You guys know for definite?
I don't think it was. No.
I don't think
it was.
Because the way that Rangers played that day was so uncharacteristic. Goldson coming out saying, "Oh yeah, we're not hungry anymore." You would not get that past Giovanni any other day, and I doubt he let it past that day. And I fully imagine him going to that first training session going, no, and no to all of them to try and get their backsides back into gear. I said this last week in the podcast, and I'm happy to say it again. It is kind of worrying for Rangers, especially just as a member of the public. I mean, I'm neutral with all things Old Firm, but when it comes to them and that result and their full attitude towards the game, it reminded me of Motherwell last season and the way the players were starting to feel under Stephen Robinson. And the sooner they get that attitude out of their heads, the better. Obviously, if Jack Ross' side is able to come out ahead and get a good result, fair play, just whoever the better side is that night, obviously they deserve the win. But I think in terms of a Rangers perspective, they really need to prove themselves, especially to the manager after that. And if they don't get at least 1 or 2 goals in tonight, regardless of what the result is, I think a lot of questions have to be asked of them, because that's not even Giovanni's fault, I don't think.
So who do we think will be the key players for Rangers tonight then, guys?
Well, obviously you would have to put your money and not your modules on the Morelos, because you don't know what Morelos is going to come out the bus or even the tunnel. Because I think he's got 2 goals, was it last week, and 1 goal last week in the European game at Ibrox. So he needs to be up to speed and all that. I mean, there's big time players in the team, but I mean, it's going to be quite interesting because, after Goldson came out the other week and stuff, maybe that's what the Rangers team needs. Maybe they need for a good Scottish work, a good boot up the, and you never know what's going to happen. Adam McGregor again. I've heard some fans saying over the weekend, "Oh, he's getting older and all that kind of stuff," but he's still a kind of class goalkeeper. This game's got 2 sets of 2 good sets of players in both sets of teams, and that's going to make it quite interesting. I mean, we just have to wait and see what happens tonight.
And obviously a big player for Jack Ross's team will be Boyle.
Yeah, I've heard. I saw today that he's back. So, you wouldn't put it past him to score another hat trick. I think I don't know. I think he will go down in history as scoring 2 hat-tricks against the same team in, 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So, yeah, he'll be up for the game as well. And the likes of Ryan Porkis as well. He might surprise us and behave well tonight and not dive in with some stupid tackles, but don't hold your breath too much in that one.
It depends if he's happy and settled or not.
Yeah.
Jenna, who do you think would be the big players for Jack Ross's team?
I think, obviously, Ryan Porteous, if he can behave himself, he can reminds me a lot of Morelos in that regard, where obviously he can't get the desired results, but it's at what kind of cost. I mean, we've seen it for years now with Morelos. He's awful fond of his red and yellow cards, and Porteous is obviously getting that way himself. So, I mean, I always joke when people used to say the hammer throwing ways of certain teams, but he is a player that does get down to nitty gritty, for better for worse. I'll leave that one up to the commenters and whatnot to decide. But I mean, yeah, he'll be big. Martin Boyle, he's back. He's a phenomenal player. Again, he gets you the results, and there is talk. I have heard this, but I'm not sure if any of this is confirmed. But there is talks of Martin Boyle potentially going to Celtic either in January or at the end of the season. So there's 2 Celtic guys here. What do you kind of make of that? Would you happily take Martin Boyle?
I would definitely take him because he's a very, very good player and he always scores a lot of goals as well. I don't know about you, Michael.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would echo that again, Reagan, that he's been about for Hibs for a few years and he scored a lot of goals for Hibs, and he's an out-and-out goal scorer, and I think all the Celtic fans would be shouting, sign him up tonight. We just have to wait and see what happens in the new year, but yeah, I mean, I would take him in the heartbeat, yeah.
I think that hat-trick as well would seal him with a very happy, open-armed welcome to Celtic Park as well, let's be honest.
So, have we got a prediction for tonight, guys?
I think it's kind of a hard one to predict as such. I mean, obviously, as we were saying, Hibs went so long without a game and then produced such a great result in the League Cup, but at the same time, you could also argue they only got that result because of the lack of motivation and drive in the Rangers camp. So I'm going to sit on the fence here. I'm not going to say a score, but I'm going to play it safe and say it's going to be a draw.
So as you know, I'm quite good at picking results, Reagan, not. So I'll probably go for I'll probably go for a 2-1 win to Rangers.
Yep, and I'm going to go 3-2 to Hibs.
The famous Hibs score.
So the next game we're going to move on to is Aberdeen at home to David Martindale's team. What do you make of this game, Michael?
I saw Aberdeen on Saturday when I was at Celtic Park, and I was so disappointed with Aberdeen. I thought they were better than that. I thought every chance they got, they either put the boot in or fell down to waste a bit of time. And Kyogo was running over to say if you're all right as well, because a lot of people were talking to me after the game about I thought Kyogo was a first aider because they always ran up to the Aberdeen player kind of fell to the deck. But I was disappointed with Aberdeen on Saturday. You know what? I think this is going to be a very, 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 how many verys there, I don't know, but a very long season for Aberdeen. I think it's between Skibbing Grass and your old pal David Martindale to get his P45 or P47 now, or maybe email the P47 team, I think, at Christmas, but I mean, I mean, I don't really know. Obviously, Aberdeen has to start getting results because you think when they went to Ibrox a few weeks ago and they got a point, then you would think, well, they're going to, kick on and win. But the last couple of weeks, they fell away again and all that. So yeah, it's going to make for a very kind of interesting game. But I can't really predict the score because I just can't.
Jenna, what are you thinking about this game? Do you think it'll be a good game to watch?
I think it'll be a good game to watch, definitely. I mean, Aberdeen has the ability to go out and do well, and Livingston can be a good side as well. I mean, Livingston have kind of pulled some results out the bag this season's gone by. It's even like made me turn around and go, didn't expect that from them. So, I mean, they have an ability amongst their squad. They're kind of a bit of an underdog, Livingston, I always feel. People always kind of write them off a plastic patch. They're not going to be that great. And then, yourselves, the old firm sides have even struggled against them in years gone by. I mean, Celtic's record at Tony Macaroni's isn't the best. And then, obviously, it's not been too good with Rangers in terms of a Livingston perspective, but they've got a player back from suspension and they're able to play when the guy that's on loan from Rangers to them as well. I always forget his name, which is terrible, but at least I'm honest about it. But yeah, they can play them tonight. Those are some good players and they are vital to Livingston's side. Whereas Stephen Glass, I think he is on a sugar peg. A lot of fans aren't happy and you can kind of see that. And I think I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest, if Scott Brown was kind of reconsidering the move, going, was this the best idea for myself going forward? Maybe in the coaching route, it might have been, if he's wanting to go down that line as a future career path when inevitably hangs his boots up. But while he's still a player, I wouldn't be surprised if like him, Declan Gallagher, etc., were thinking, what is really going on here? Because this is not ideal.
I mean, it's not as if Aberdeen's got, players that you haven't heard of before, like Scott Brown and stuff like that. So that they've got kind of, you would say, maybe household names that's been a bit.
Yeah, they've got some powerhouses of players behind them, let's be honest. I mean, you guys will know more than anyone that Scott Brown is a really good player, as much as I hate to say it. But no, like the guy, he is a good player. I mean, he's another one that gets down and dirty. You can argue again in the comments if it's rightly or wrongly so playing like that. But yeah, I mean, I really thought Aberdeen was going to be a bit of a menace this season, but really they've kind of fell flat, and I'm kind of disappointed for them because I said they'll be top 3, top 4 easily. But now I'm not so sure. I mean, if they're able to turn it around before Christmas, I think they'll overall be safe. They'll be top 6, probably most likely. But the sooner they get more unbeaten runs in, the better.
Who are we thinking will be the key players tonight, guys?
Well, obviously they've got John Hayes as well. Obviously, I think Scott Brown's out the game tonight actually because he got injured on Sunday. So as well as we were all bigging Scott Brown up here, sadly he's out the game tonight. Joe Lewis, another top goalkeeper for Aberdeen, kind of like this season. So they've got like players all over the park. I think what really helps Aberdeen is this game's at home as well, but also I know that you were going to move on to speak about Livingston, but Livingston's quite a stuffy team that you don't know what to get, whether it's at the Tony Macaroni Stadium or whatever they're calling it this week, or away from home. So it's going to make an interesting game, but as we are giving it the big build up here, it might end up 0-0.
I've just had a nosy at the Aberdeen team sheet, and Scott Brown is actually playing tonight. He's got the captain's band as well. He's in the starting 11. So, I mean, fair play to him. Okay. That injury must not have been too bad for him, which is obviously great. But again, I thought he might have been out for that as well. But fair play. I mean, at his age as well, to still be playing, that is a big achievement because is he not 34, 35 now?
Yeah, I'm just going to ask you, so do you think Stephen Glass will be given much time to try and do well with Aberdeen, or do you think the fans will start to get fed up with him?
I think from a board perspective, I can see them giving him to at least the end of the season, because I'm one of those people. I think it's kind of, if you've got a new manager in, they'll be dealing with whoever and whatever players were brought in from the previous one. So you kind of need to work around that and make sure they're happy, conform to your style of playing. And if they're not, obviously, you can bump them off the next transfer window in or bring in replacements. And I can't remember who said this quote. It was this quote. I seen it. I think it was on like Sky Sports News or something. And I think it was a manager from down south, and they were saying it takes at least 2 to 3 years to turn around a team when you first come in as a manager. Because, as I was saying, you've got another manager's players. They'll be used to a certain way of playing. And if your team that you've just joined is in a serious rut, it takes a long time to filter out players that maybe aren't too bothered about playing for the club. Players that either are past their sell-by date as well in terms of their ability. So you could argue older players that maybe aren't good enough, like Alan McGregor. He's a player that's been kind of questioned about, is it time for him to hang up the boots age-wise? And I hope Stephen Glass gets this chance to actually show what he's capable of. But at the same time, I would not be surprised either if the fans kept going on, especially if Aberdeen continues this kind of topsy-turvy way of results. I can see him potentially depart at the end of the season, but I would really not hope for it because, again, he's not really had the proper chance to do much yet. I mean, he only came into March time, April time at a push. So it's not as if he's had a long time actually bond with the squad, get them in playing, because he had to wait a while as well for like his COVID pass to come in to get him into Scotland and get permits and etc. So you kind of need to cut the guy a wee bit of slack.
So in terms of David Martindale's side, Jenna, what do you make of them tonight?
I'm having a look at their team sheets now because that's them just starting to come out. And I think they've got a good squad here. I mean, Devlin obviously has been spoken about quite a bit to be a good player, so I'm just hoping that the captain can proper rally the boys up, get them ready for a fight. Because again, Livingston could easily come away with a win here, but so could Aberdeen. So it's all about whoever wants that win more. The results will clearly show that.
And Michael, what do you think in terms of this for David Martindale's team?
Yeah, well, David Martindale's one of your best mates, isn't he, Reagan? Even though that you said to him that he's got to get the bag 2 games into the season and stuff. So maybe I phoned him today, was asking for you. But no, I mean, see this, you know, to be honest, I don't really know what you get from Livingston for that, as I said, home or away. I saw them the other week against Celtic again at Parkhead, and it was a very stuffy performance. And you could argue that Celtic weren't at the top of the game that day and missing that penalty as well. But they defended well. And I saw part of the game on Sunday, albeit when I was left the house to go out on Sunday, Rangers were winning 2-0. But Livingston, I heard that McGregor made a few good saves in the game as well. So, again, you're not. It's quite difficult to call this game as well. It's going to be a very tight game as well. I don't think there's going to be a lot of goals in this game, but it's going to be quite interesting.
So guys, have we got a prediction for this game?
I'm going to say Aberdeen 1-0.
Yeah, Aberdeen would need to start winning, and I would say maybe 2-0 to Aberdeen.
Yeah, I'm going to go 2-0 Aberdeen too, Michael.
Yep.
So the next game we're going to go on to is Dundee against St Johnstone. So what we're seeing for this game tonight, guys?
Well, this is a kind of local kind of derby in a way, isn't it? Because like Perth is not a million miles away from Dundee as well, but I would imagine that this will be the lowest turnout for both sets of fans tonight, because Dundee United, Dundee is not very well supported against St Johnstone. It's not a very well supported team home or away, and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I saw Dundee at the weekend, as I say, against Motherwell, and I'm sorry to upset Jen again, but obviously they won. But they need to kick on and start winning games as well. So this is going to be another kind of like interesting game. Another home game for Dundee as well. You know, and it's quite interesting because you know, the big question is where is Lee Griffiths? You know, because as a scout at Dundee, as he's back at Celtic, or I'm not sure if he's injured or whatever, or kicking a firework into the crowd somewhere. You know, that he's nowhere to be seen. But Dundee has a good team. You know, they're very well organised as well. And I would go the same with St Johnstone as well. They're well organised as well. Callum Davison is a brilliant manager, but the interesting thing for me is not to go off on the tangent here, but the interesting thing for me is because Davison won the double last season for St Johnstone. You would think other teams will be looking at him, but I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel as though that he's at a lesser club, lesser as in no Celtic or Rangers. If he was at Celtic or Rangers, they would be away to the Premiership by now. But because he's at a kind of like lesser team, and albeit that he won the double last season, that you know no one's kind of like looking at him. Maybe that's a kind of negative thing, and St Johnstone fans are saying, "Yeah, thank goodness he's not away, because we want him to stay here forever." But I mean, I do think he's kind of like overlooked sometimes for jobs.
I agree fully, to be honest. I mean, a lot of people in previous seasons were quick to write off St Johnstone when there was obvious they were there. I mean, they've won a couple of trophies in the past 10 years as well, so they are a good side and obviously have been playing in Europe, the likes of Galatasaray. They really held their own in that game as well. And I think a lot of people are quick to forget that. I mean, fair enough, some of St Johnstone's best players did leave in the last transfer window there, but they are still a really poignant side. And I do think Callum Davidson is a great manager. I mean, being able to get the doubles as well, I mean, that is a huge feat. I mean, getting one non-Glasgow side team to get one trophy, never mind the same one to get two in a season, is unbelievable. It's unheard of nowadays, let's be perfectly honest. And I just don't think they get the credit they fully deserve for that. Europe this year, and they've actually been quite well as well, if pardon the pun here. But yeah, I mean, St Johnstone really are a good side.
And you know, like people forget that they went to Ibrox and beat Rangers. Okay, if they went to McDermott Park and beat them, you would say, well, they were away from home, but they actually went to Ibrox with a big skiggum and actually beat Rangers as well, you know.
That's no easy feat. That is not, especially when there is over 50,000 Rangers fans there getting behind the squad, trying to rally them on, and then still coming out on top. Because you can be the best player in the world, but the fan impact cannot be underestimated. So it just goes to show their ability that they would be like, you know what? They could be sitting there booing us or shouting on them. We'll use that to motivate us because we want to prove them wrong. We are a good side if you're obviously taking it from a St Johnstone perspective.
And who do we think will be the important players for St Johnstone and Dundee tonight then?
Xander Clark, that's the most obvious one. Scotland internationalist. Again, you could argue if he deserves his place in the starting 11 more than Craig Gordon. He is a really good experienced keeper for all the reasons I've been listing off here when we're singing St Johnstone's praises. I think he will be massive going forward, and I'm actually surprised no one's tried to scoop him up yet either. Again, go with the Callum Davidson tangent here. I think a lot of these players are getting overlooked because they aren't affiliated with a bigger club or team.
Yeah, that's a good.
Again, you can argue all day long for both sides of the debate, but
Yeah,
I think it's important to notice and recognise that.
Yeah, that's a good point, because what I was saying about Callum Davidson, but you've got Sean Rooney as well. You know, I think he scored in two of the cup finals last season, or one of the cup finals as well. But yeah, he's a big player for St Johnstone. He scores a lot of goals, but again, as you were saying there about maybe he's been overlooked because he's not playing for a Celtic, a Hibs, a Rangers, or a Hearts kind of thing, you know. But yeah, I mean, but St Johnstone are a very good team, you know, and again, it's kind of like up and down this season as well. But yeah, it should be a very kind of like entertaining game, that one. And as I said, Dundee off of a back win. Sorry for saying this for the fourth time, but on Saturday they beat the Old Well, but they would want to keep kind of like the momentum going, especially at home tonight.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. I mean, as much as I'm pain to see it, because obviously my team was in the losing half of that game. But yeah, I mean, they'll be wanting to continue this. I mean, they're sitting at the bottom now. They'll be dying to get up and climb that table further and further. So I've got a feeling they will put up a fight tonight. But I think ultimately St Johnstone will most likely get the better of them.
So what we're thinking for the score prediction then, guys?
2-1. Easily to St Johnstone.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll go for 3-1 Dundee.
I'm going to go 2-0 Dundee.
Very split opinions here tonight.
And the final game of the Wednesday night is at Paisley, and it's Ross County that travel there. What do we think of this game, guys?
I think that if you ask me if the game was up at Ross County, I think that I would say, well, St Mirren would find it very difficult, because that Ross County has got a very tight park up at Dingwall, and they always make it hard for teams. And saying that, Ross County is a decent team away from home, and you know, I like Malcolm Mackay, and and St Mirren at home as well. But I just think St Mirren would just kind of like edge this game by a goal. But yeah, I think it will be a very, very tight game.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, St Mirren as well has been a team. It has been kind of topsy-turvy. I've noticed this quite a lot this season, that there has been very few teams we can say they've had a great season so far and meant it for near enough every game they've played. Whereas like last season, it was kind of obvious who the good teams were. So to speak, I mean, for a long time, obviously Celtic was going to be a good side, obviously last year and then at the start of this one. But overall, I mean, St Mirren, they do have some like really good players. I mean, they've got Charles Dunn, great player for Mull, played by injuries. So unfortunately, that was obviously out with her controlling why he didn't get game time for a long time. They've got Curtis Main. Again, St Mirren, I've got a habit of skipping up former Motherwell players here, but Curtis Main, again, when he was playing for us and playing for Aberdeen as well, he was able to get lots and lots of good goals. Aaron Brophy as well, great young player. I can see them doing well, but at the same time, Ross County has kind of proven themselves to be able to get quite, you could argue, kind of scrappy results, but they've been kept up the past couple of seasons. They know how to win games. I mean, they've also pulled out quite a few results. It's kind of took me by surprise. I mean, was it not Ross County knocked you guys at the League Cup last season?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like things like that. Like they've shown that they can surprise you and get a good team going. I mean, they've got Jordan White playing for them now.
Yeah,
not bad striker. He can get results, just not as much as I think as Ross County would like. But yeah, I mean, tonight I think it'll be quite a hard game between the two. I mean, obviously been kind of singing the praises of St Mirren players, but you can't underestimate Ross County either.
And Michael, who do you think will be the key players for St Mirren tonight then?
Yeah, well, I mean, they've got kind of like key players all over the park, kind of thing, you know. But I would go for maybe, you know, another. This is another tight game on paper. I like how I'm kind of like predicting all the scores right tonight, but they might be massively wrong, you know. But I will go for like a 2-1 win for St Mirren here. But it's going to be quite a stuffy game because Ross County is a very, as I was saying early on about teams coming to Parkhead and Ibrox, Ross County parks about 15 buses behind the ball, you know, and very difficult to kind of like break it down. But no, I mean, if you look at all the games tonight, they've each got something to kind of like give, you know. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to seeing the highlights later.
Jenna, what about you?
I think Ross Callahan, the young guy they got from Hamilton last season, again, very young, talented player. Again, I hate saying this because the Hamilton connection, obviously, no, kidding on, obviously. The guy's a good player. I think if he continues to prove himself and get more and more first team action and starting from the get-go in that starting 11, I think he will be a thorn in the side of St Mirren. But I think, obviously, as I've seen Alex like Jamie McGrath, Eamon Brophy, they will also be a bit of a menace to the Ross County defenders. So again, I think this one will be kind of a hard one to predict.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm going to go for 2-1 to Ross County. What about you, Jenna?
I'm feeling along the same lines, I have to be honest. I'm going to say 2-1 as well.
Okay, and now we're going to look back on a disappointing night for Scotland as they went down 8-0 to Spain last night. What do you make of this one, Jenna?
I think it's really disheartening. I mean, Scotland's overall World Cup campaign for the women has been really strong. I mean, we were undefeated in all the games until last night. Fair enough, we fell victim to a loss with the friendly against Sweden, but again, that was a friendly against a side that was playing in the Olympics. It did like really well. So to go away from a loss, it was a narrow loss as well. They were like, you know what? We don't mind that because you play well, but an 8-0 loss, sorry, that's kind of harder to justify and kind of draw positives from. I didn't catch the game. I seen some of the highlights, but not enough to compensate this goal was good or things like that. But an 8-0 victory, there will be quite a few questions of, right, how can we prepare ourselves for these big teams if we get to playoffs, etc., for the Women's World Cup? Because Spain is one of the greatest teams in the world in terms of funding for women's football. We all know it's no secret that the women's game globally isn't as well invested, as well funded as the men's. So they'll need to be asking themselves, what will we do if we do qualify, when we do play games against people like with Spain's calibre, against the USA, and again, another great team, if they were to play England, again, one of the best women's teams in the world. I mean, they won 20-0 last night against Latvia. You can argue and I think one of the Irish teams, they won 11-0 last night, and big scorelines that I should give it comes across as either the winning team's either amazing or that losing team is barely a team. And I think that is something that the women's team kind of highlights, is the massive disproportions in terms of resources, players' ability. And that's not even these teams' faults a lot of the time. If the money's just not there in their national game or in the leagues where Scottish players, again, from a Scotland perspective, are in, it kind of shows that disparity. I mean, I follow the SWPLs, get to as much games as much as I can, and I see that firsthand, likes of Glasgow City, Rangers, Celtic, against the likes of like Partick Thistle ladies, Hamilton Accies ladies, Spartans ladies, Hibs Hearts, they've been kind of getting better in recent years. Get against Aberdeen, Motherwell, you can very much tell the difference in calibre, and it is literally just down to funding more than the ability. I missed Glasgow City Motherwell at the weekend there, but apparently on like March Sports and stuff that I've read, Motherwell actually really held their own, which I don't think a lot of people expected. I didn't expect it, to be honest. And I think these national games just kind of highlight that further. I mean, that's obviously a domestic example, but it is worrying if you didn't know that kind of, I hate saying the standards, if the standard is bad, it's not. And like Scottish women's football, especially for the national team. But it does look bad. And I can't deny or justify it. I can only explain it.
Yeah, I mean, the only positive is that Scotland's got a big gap to the second place because they're second to Spain. So as long as we pick up points in the next two games, then we'll qualify for a playoff, Jenna.
Yeah, I mean, if Scotland are able to do that, then that's obviously amazing. We were unfortunate not to get to the most recent Women's Euros tournament. And then obviously the former manager resigned over that. And now Pedro Martinez Loza is came in and he has done really well with the girls, I think. I think we've played amazingly. I mean, I've been watching it, unfortunately not from Hampden, but from home. But even then, they have been playing some really good, attractive football and it's getting the results. I mean, we were undefeated until that Spanish game in terms of the World Cup games. And you can't really ask for more than that. I mean, the guys are kind of in a similar place as well now where they've been going on a really good World Cup qualifying run. So you never know. We could be having double celebrations if both teams come out of these playoffs on top, which I think would be amazing to see. And I would hope that if the ladies' team do make it to the playoffs and do well, that'll encourage more people that might not have bothered with the women's team to either watch either on BBC Alba or whatever, or go down to Hampden and watch, because the more fans in, the better. And the more Scotland fans in, especially, that usually only bother with the men's team, that's even better, because now you've got double reasons to celebrate. Well, potentially. We don't know how these games are going to go yet, but you want to be optimistic.
And Michael, just looking at it in terms of that game tomorrow at Celtic Park, you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I always look forward to when the Edinburgh teams comes to Glasgow. I'm looking forward to the game, but I'm also looking for I'm looking forward to the atmosphere as well, because as you know, the away fans are starting to get back into grounds. The Aberdeen brought a brilliant supporting Sunday for a 3:00 game, and I'm expecting the same with Hearts tomorrow night. And yeah, Celtic might want a bit of payback after the first game of the season, but it's quite weird because even though Celtic would want payback time, it's a totally different team since what was it, the 2nd of August, when they played at Tynecastle. And yeah, I mean, we were talking about Ryan Porteous earlier, but I think there'll be a few meaty tackles going tomorrow night in that game. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that game. I'm actually going along to the game, so I'm looking forward to it.
Michael, have you got a prediction for that game?
Yeah, I'll go 3-1 Celtic.
Jen, have you got a prediction?
I'm going to say 3-2 to Celtic.
Okay, I'm going to go 2-0.
More split decisions here with the scores tonight.
Yeah, I know exactly. But no, I'm looking forward to the game, and yeah, I'm just so happy that the fans get back into the games now, because when you watch that kind of game last season, even though it was a kind of high profile game in Scotland, but no fans in there, and it's not fun. You actually get a bit bored watching it, but because there's fans in, there's some atmosphere now in the ground. Whether the game was at Parkhead or Tynecastle or wherever it was, you know, it's just brilliant to see fans back inside football stadiums and creating that good atmosphere.
I fully agree.
Okay, guys, well, I just wanted to thank you for joining us on the programme. It's been great to have you on. And thank you to everyone for joining us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.